So the other night, I caught myself saying, "Oh, I should probably do something." I was sitting in the living room with my wife, quiet evening, nothing going on, and I started listing things out loud. Oh, well, I guess I should go out to the garage and straighten up. I should go in the office and, finish up what I was working on there. I should do this, I should do that. And she looked at me and said, "Quit saying I should." She said, "You don't have to do anything tonight. There's nothing that pressing that needs to be done." And I kind of laughed because it stuck with me because she was right. There wasn't anything I had to do. But for some reason, it felt like I was supposed to be doing something. The more I sat with that, the more I realized this wasn't new. That feeling had been there for a long time, off and on. That moment didn't create the question, it just brought it back into focus. So I've been retired about 7 years now, and I'm being honest, a lot of that time has been spent trying to figure out, what my purpose is supposed to be. Because you hear it everywhere, hey, this is your time now. Go find your purpose. Do the things you've always wanted to do. So I tried. I jumped into hobbies, started projects, followed a lot of different ideas down a lot of different rabbit holes, thinking maybe the next thing would finally be the thing. And for a while it always feels like progress, like I'm getting somewhere. But then, it starts to fade a little bit and I'm left with that same question again. What is this all actually for? It's not that anything was wrong. I wasn't unhappy, but there was always this quiet pressure in the background, like I should be doing something more with this time, this retirement. Like I hadn't quite figured it out yet. And that's the part we don't talk about much, that even when life is good, you can still feel like you're missing something you can't quite put your finger on. You know, for years I kept trying to find a purpose and it never quite landed. And then somewhere along the way it stopped being about one big answer. It started being a lot of little things. Perfect example. Last week I was babysitting my 16-month-old grandson. And we were sitting in the chair together and I was trying to teach him how to stick his tongue out. So I'd do it and he'd look at me real serious and concentrate and try to figure out how to stick his tongue out. And then we'd both just crack up laughing. And then we'd have to try it again. Nothing else, no lesson, no plan, just that. Just pure joy. Or I'll be working here in my office on some project or whatever with my 6 and my 7-year-old grandsons crowded on my lap. Not really helping, just hanging out with me there. Like somehow what we were doing mattered, even though it didn't look important at all. And then there's our granddaughters. We go up to see them. My wife and I will stay in a hotel, and the girls always come spend the nights with us. And one of our favorite things is my wife brings along a bag of card games, and we'll sit around the table in the hotel room and play card games one after another, laughing, teasing each other, figuring out the rules as we go, making up the rules as we go. Nothing fancy. It's just one of those little traditions that somehow becomes one of the best parts of the whole trip. And I don't remember the exact moment it happened, but somewhere in all of that, that question, what is this all for? That just got a little quiet. Not answered, just quiet. Didn't feel like such a big deal anymore. Nothing big had changed, but something had. And so I don't have this all figured out about, purpose in life and purpose in retirement, but here's what I'm starting to suspect. Maybe purpose isn't a destination somewhere out in the future that I haven't figured out yet. Maybe I'm already here. Maybe I've already got my purpose. Because none of these little moments, with my grandkids look important. Trying to get a toddler to stick his tongue out, sitting at a desk with kids squeezed on my lap, playing cards in a hotel room. There's nothing impressive about any of that. You can't measure it. You wouldn't really write it down. But yet, Those are the moments I wouldn't trade for anything. And I think about all that time that I've spent over the years trying to figure out my purpose, like it was something out there waiting for me I just hadn't found yet. Something bigger, something clearer, something profound. But yet I'm starting to think that it's been here with me the whole time. I still hear that little voice sometimes, the one that says I should be doing more, something more important. That doesn't disappear, but it's a lot quieter now because I'm starting to see something different. It doesn't show up like an answer, it shows up like time that I don't want to rush through. And if one of my grandkids ever sees this someday, I hope they know that those little moments with them, they weren't little to me. They were the part of my life that finally made sense. I didn't stop searching for purpose because I found a big answer. I stopped because I realized I was already in it. So if you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. And if you've got any stories you'd like to share about finding your purpose in retirement or the things that you're really enjoying, let me know in the comments. We'd love to hear them. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.